Welcome, brother. I feel for the last 10 years, there's been a part of myself that has been running away from who I am. In all the goals I've pursued, in the goals I've achieved, I feel that part of that has been to escape this little boy you see in this picture, where I'm shy and nervous. I feel I've been trying to escape that part of myself. And maybe there's some part of you that feels the same, that you're developing, working on yourself, trying to hit all these goals. But there's some part of you that you feel you're running from, you're not facing and not accepting. This is going to be a bit about my story and the lessons I've learned along the way that you can apply to your life. And I'm also going to share towards the end of the video what I feel like I was running from in the first place. So let's get started. 10 years ago, I was very lost. I was a lost young boy, and these were some of the things I engaged in. I pleased people because I didn't want to be rejected. I used addiction as a way to numb my emotions. I had no sense of purpose or what I'm doing next in my life. I kind of just followed what other people expected of me. With that, I didn't really understand myself, my values, what I wanted. So it was understandable that I didn't have good boundaries, and that resulted in a failed relationship. Through this, I had zero trust in myself. I didn't really know who I was or what I wanted from my life. And the main thing was I didn't have much hope for the future. And my story I'm going to share here is a bit about how I've come to discover hope and change my perspective on life and realize what I was actually running from. So eventually I ended my relationship. I started self-improvement, and I thought that things started looking a bit better. I didn't have this relationship holding me back, and I was doing things externally that looked good and looked positive. I felt like I was on the right track, so you would assume that everything was good. The truth was, things weren't much better. I started to listen to online content, some of the red pill stuff. What does it mean to be a strong man? And the message I took in was, I am not enough. I'm not good enough as a man. So how can I change myself? And yes, I did grow. I put myself in challenging situations along the way, but I also took on a lot of negative beliefs at that time. I felt like I had to always show this mask of being strong. So even though parts of myself were coming up where I was being more accepting and trying to be more honest, I also felt like I needed to remain stoic and strong. And this created a lot of tension. I found it difficult to sleep, and just unhelpful coping mechanisms where I didn't feel I was truly myself. I was just wearing a different kind of mask. The thing that changed for me, which made a massive difference, was when I ended that relationship. It made me take responsibility for my life for probably the very first time. I think as men, we go through our lives where we go to school and university or maybe our first job, and we've always been looked after, we're always protected. And often we become victims in our lives. We blame other people, and that's what happened for me. But when I was forced, and as a result of being so unhappy that I was forced to end this relationship, it was the first proper time I took responsibility for my life and accepted that I can change things. So I started doing a few different things. So on the right here, I'm in Lisbon, Portugal. It was my first solo travel. And here's the men's group I've set up in the UK, doing a meetup in London. So all these experience and skills that I gained all came as a result of that one moment of taking responsibility. But deep down, some part of me still felt insecure, felt like I was wearing a mask, felt that certain emotions, feelings that I experienced weren't okay. Things like sadness, like grief, like anger, pushed down some parts of myself. But my way of thinking, as many of us think in our modern society, is that these external things, whether it's starting a business as I did in my next step, starting the business will change things. I was in a job where I was very stressed out, I was unhappy. And starting a business did change things, being honest. It changed some things. It allowed me to have the opportunity to travel later on. It gave me confidence. I had to put myself out there. So there's an interesting balance I noticed in my life where taking these risks, they changed some things. But I still had within me a lot of feelings of self-doubt, of insecurity. So this is part of the journey, is we achieve these external things and they're not always as satisfying as we think they will be. Even though creating the business has brought many blessings to my life, it still didn't feel like it fundamentally changed who I was. And I was always hoping for the next thing to make my life and internal state feel better. So the next thing was moving to Asia will change things. Traveling is something I'd been fearful of. It's something I'd put off for years and years. And then I eventually pulled the trigger. Something in a relationship frustrated me. It pissed me off. And as a result, I booked a one-way flight to Bali. And I made that step. So I built the marketing agency. I'd left this job I didn't like. Had money coming in. I was working remotely in Asia, living the dream. Had a girlfriend who I'm still with. And I thought this would solve all my internal problems. It would make me feel less scared. It would make me feel more confident, more sure of who I am. It had been my dream for such a long time. But when I was here in Asia, in Da Nang, in Vietnam, where I still am, never had I felt more lost. I felt that I was questioning what I was doing here. My work time was pretty low, a few hours a day, 3 to 4 hours a day. So I had a lot of free time. And this brought me a bigger question of, once I've ticked off the things that are my immediate goals, how do I make a meaningful and fulfilling life? And I'd never felt more lost, more empty. As a result, to try and resolve this, I kind of panicked. I thought, I'll do what everyone does online, what all the Hormozis and business gurus tell us. I'll just grow the business. And I chose this goal out of scarcity, out of the fear I felt within for being so uncertain. I didn't really have a reason for doing this. I didn't need more money at that stage, but I was lacking purpose. And I think so many of us men fall into this trap where we fill the gap, we fill the void with work. We do the most obvious thing, when maybe we deeper down we have some kind of deeper calling, something that's really meaningful for us, but we also feel that we're not certain it's going to make money. So we do what's safe, we do what's comfortable. And for me, that was doing more of the same, more of the marketing agency, trying to grow it. And I did grow it. I got more clients, I got more income coming in, but it felt meaningless. I wasn't doing it for any real reason. I started to slow down after this. I had ACL surgery earlier in the year on my knee, and it forced me to slow down. I let go of some of the clients I'd acquired last year, the ones that were stressing me out. And I started to understand myself. I started to be able to reflect that all this time I wanted something external to change my internal state. I was always chasing, as many men do, chasing that future and hoping that that is going to be what fixes me internally, what's going to make me suddenly feel better, let go of these feelings of insecurity, of fear around money, of not having enough, not being enough. Slowing down was one of the first times I was able to reflect on what I really wanted from this life. And I think the truth was, and it's something I've realized very recently, I was running from suffering. I thought that if I achieved these goals, these external things, that the feelings I have within, that could be normal feelings like sadness, anger, shame, grief, guilt, all these normal human experiences, I'd led myself to believe that if I improved and achieved enough externally, I would get to a state where I wouldn't have to feel this stuff. And I think this is a trap so many of us fall into. We feel that the external is all we really focus on, and we forget the internal, the spiritual side of us. So what was the opposite of running from myself for me? For me, it looked like meditation. Meditating on the things that upset me, the things that trigger me. Why is it that these things make me so upset? What doubts do they bring up in myself? Journaling, reflecting on the parts of myself I push down. It's also, for me, this journey has been going towards fear, going towards being more cringe, dealing with some of the shame by putting myself out there and realizing that the whole point of this journey, everything I've learned from when I started out on self-improvement and started running away from myself in some ways. All of these things are about enjoying the journey, going towards our fear, and enjoying each moment of growth and development, and also embracing all different parts of yourself. For me, sadness is something I reject. I didn't even know the purpose of sadness, and I've recently come to learn that without sadness, things don't feel that meaningful. When we're sad about things, we also have time to reflect on what really matters. It shows something was important, and it gives context and contrast, which allows us to experience true joy. But by pushing that part down, I felt less joy. I felt less happiness. So I need to work on accepting that side of myself. And also sharing yourself honestly, like I'm doing here. This builds self-trust because you put yourself out there. People might hate this video, I might get some negative comments. But at the end of the day, I'm building trust in myself by being honest, telling you my story. And the result of slowing down for me and reflecting was I want to do more of the work that I find meaningful. And for me, this is men's work. It's helping men become the best versions of themselves. I run men's groups. I recently run a men's retreat. And I wouldn't have been able to reflect on this if I'd continued along this line. Like so many men do, we continue out of fear of really sitting with the anxiety, the scarcity, the terror we feel to maybe do what's truly meaningful for us. And it's up to you, brother, to take that risk on yourself, to bet on yourself, to reflect on what truly matters in your life. And I would say this is an ongoing journey. And remember that external states, external situations, these are still things we should strive for, but don't expect them to change your internal state if you always feel like you're running from yourself. If you do these things, if you recognize where you're running from yourself, you want to escape that young boy who felt so scared, just recognize this, reflect on it. Because if you're always running, I feel if you're always running, you're always going to be running. You're never going to be quite fully here in the moment, in the present moment, and enjoying life. Because you're fearful of what's going to come up if you're just here with your emotions. And that's true for me. And honestly, I'm still scared of this. It's still something that I find difficult. But I think if you do these things, there is so much hope for your life. And that's the message I wish I would have received 10 years ago at the start of my journey where I felt so lost. That, brother, there is hope for you. And that's why I'm creating this video. I want to give hope to that version of me. And I know because I existed, I was that version that felt lost, that there are other men, maybe you watching this video, who feels that same sense of being lost. So there is so much hope for you. And I want to put into practice what I'm saying. In 2 days' time, this video will be scheduled actually. So when this video is out, I will be in Hong Kong on a 10-day silent meditation Vipassana retreat. And I'm really nervous about that. I'm very scared because I'm really going to have to do what maybe I've been scared of doing all this time, which is sitting with myself, seeing who I am when I let go of my masks, when I'm still, when I don't have people to talk to, don't have work to distract me, girlfriend, exercise, YouTube, friends, family. Who am I when I'm just alone? Who am I when sadness comes up? Can I accept that part of me? Can I accept anger? Can I accept the shame that I may feel? And this is our eternal challenge, to truly accept who we are, not seek to change it, but still take responsibility for our own experience. So I will share a video on how this experience goes. And I hope this video helped. If you're that person, that man who is running from yourself, then please share this with a brother who you feel also needs to hear this message. And just be aware of where you're running from yourself. Because if we choose this life path, as many men have done, we will end up 50 years old, 60-year-olds, and look back on our life with a sense of regret of what could I have done if I'd truly accepted myself. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.